Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to understanding complex systems. Today, we are definitely unpacking a big one in the digital asset world, TRON, specifically its token, TRX. And our mission here, well, it's really based just on the excerpts you shared, right? From their white paper, their foundational stuff. We want to cut through all the, the daily market noise, the ups and downs, and just zero in on the core purpose. What is this blockchain system actually trying to do?
And getting the context right is, well, it's crucial.
Yeah.
The sources we're looking at, they lay out the foundational ideas over several years. The original white paper that came out back in May 2018.
Okay.
But the materials we have show updates and refinements right up to September 2022.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, we're not just glancing at some fleeting idea. This is a long-term vision, something that's had, 4 years to be implemented and tweaked in a market that changes, well, incredibly fast.
That framing is super important. Thanks. So we're looking at a system that's had time, real time, to try and deliver on what it first promised. Okay, so let's get into it. How does Tron describe itself right at the start? What is it in their own words? And why does that definition matter so much?
Well, the white paper sets the stage immediately. It's very clear. This isn't just, another cryptocurrency ledger. Tron is described fundamentally as one of the largest blockchain-based operating systems in the world.
Okay, hold on. That phrase, operating system, that's where we need to pause and really dig in a bit. Because when I hear operating system, I think Windows or, iOS on my phone. It's the base layer, right? The foundation for everything else.
Exactly. That's precisely the implication. For a blockchain project to call itself an OS, it has to be more than just a token you trade. It suggests things like, smart contracts, different token standards, being able to handle a lot of transactions quickly, all built right into its core.
So they're not just competing with Bitcoin or Ether necessarily.
Well, they are in a way, but the operating system claim positions them against, the big tech giants who provide the back end, the hosting, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud.
Oh, okay.
They're aiming to provide the environment where digital content, especially entertainment, can live and interact, not just a currency.
Okay, but that claim, one of the largest, that sounds like, marketing speak maybe. How do the source materials back that up? What does largest even mean here? Is it market cap, user numbers, transaction speed?
Yeah, that's a fair question. The documents don't just give one single metric for largest, but they do provide little snapshots, data points that kind of hint at the operational scale. For instance, the source mentions specific data like a reference price. I think it was around 0.0597, the small change percentage. Now, a single price point isn't the main thing, but the fact they include that kind of real-time market data, it shows they're operating at a scale where tracking and reporting this stuff is normal, which, only major active projects really do consistently. And beyond that, if you look at the technical architecture they describe, what you'd need to run a global operating system, the sources talk about things like consensus mechanisms. Delegated proof of stake is often mentioned with Tron, which are all about speed and handling lots of users and data.
Right, scalability.
Exactly. So scale here seems measured by the ability to process the sheer volume needed for something like, say, global real-time entertainment. Can it handle it? That seems to be the benchmark for largest.
Okay, so it sounds like they needed this huge infrastructure, this large OS, because they had a really massive goal. And the white paper doesn't really mince words about that goal, does it?
No, it's quite direct.
The driving force, the whole point, it states really clearly, the objective of Tron is to construct a global free content entertainment system.
That phrase, that's the mission statement. And it connects all that tech talk, the OS ambition, directly to what the user gets. What's really interesting, I think, is the laser focus on entertainment. Not finance, not supply chains initially, but really aiming at the media world, streaming, gaming, social media, how content gets shared.
Okay, but we need to clarify something potentially huge for you, the listener. What does free mean? Because, building a global platform where all content is just free, economically, that sounds kind of impossible. Are they saying zero cost or something else?
Yeah, that's a really important distinction to make. Free here almost certainly doesn't mean zero price tag for everything. It's most more likely referring to freedom. Freedom from, say, centralized control, freedom from the big intermediaries taking huge cuts.
Like the platform fees.
Exactly. Think about the traditional model. YouTube takes a big slice. Spotify controls who gets heard and how. Free in this context seems to mean liberating the content from those gatekeepers.
So the creator gets more control.
That's the idea. The system is built so the creator can set their own terms. Want to charge a tiny fee per view? Maybe. Want to give it away to build fans? You can do that too. The point is, this big operating system is designed to cut out the middleman, the platform that usually dictates the rules and takes most of the money. That's what they seem to mean by a free content entertainment system.
Okay, that connection makes sense. And it justifies the tech claims, right? You need a massive, fast, scalable operating system if you're genuinely trying to replace the server infrastructure of a Netflix or a YouTube.
Precisely. The infrastructure has to be able to support that mission. They go hand in hand.
So we've got this huge infrastructure, this global mission focused on decentralizing entertainment. Let's pivot now to the individual, the user. If Tron is setting itself up against these giant platforms, what does it actually mean for, say, a creator or even a consumer? How does the protocol itself give them power?
Right. And this is where the white paper gets really specific, translating that big vision into like actual user rights baked into the system. The protocol gives users clear, explicit tools for empowerment. It boils down the whole relationship between the user and their content to 3 core things they can do without needing permission from some central company.
Okay, let's break down those 3. This seems like the core mechanism for shifting power. What can every single user freely do?
Okay, the rights are spelled out. Users can freely publish, store, and own data. That trio. That's the bedrock of user control on the network.
Publish, store, own. Let's take those apart.
Sure. So publish.
Yeah.
That's pretty straightforward, right? We all post stuff online.
Yeah.
Store implies the content isn't just sitting on one company's server somewhere. It lives on, or is at least referenced by, this decentralized network. Less reliance on a single point of failure or control.
Okay.
But the really critical one, the one that I think truly defines Tron-on's whole argument against the status quo, is the right to own data.
Right. That's the buzzword, data ownership. We hear it a lot. But for our audience, people who follow this space, how does Tron actually try to make that real? Especially when platforms today often feel like they own everything about your content, even if not the content itself.
Well, this is where it tries to move from just a nice idea to actual technical reality. Within the Tron system, owning data is meant to mean your identity as the creator, and the information about your content, the metadata, are linked together permanently on the blockchain. It's immutable.
So it can't be easily changed or taken away by a platform.
That's the goal. It bypasses that usual situation where, okay, you upload your song or video, but the platform controls how it's monetized, who sees it, all the analytics around it.
Huh?
Think about a musician example. They upload a new track
Okay.
on Spotify or whatever. The platform hosts the file, manages the streaming, tracks all the listener data, and takes, maybe 70% of any revenue.
Right. The infamous cuts.
Yeah. In the Tron model, ideally, the musician's ownership, the rules for payment, maybe who gets access, they could all be handled by smart contracts running on this base operating system layer. The musician keeps control, not just of the song file, but crucially, the data generated by people listening to it, which is what drives how they get paid or connect with fans. That's the fundamental shift. The content's identity belongs to the creator, not the platform.
That really does flip the economic model, doesn't it? It stops being just about getting your stuff out there and starts being about actually controlling the value and the relationship that comes from it. So that combination, you're guaranteed the ability to publish, it's stored decentrally, and you have this claim to absolute data ownership. That's the system's recipe for creator power within this global free content entertainment system.
Precisely. It's the mechanism designed to deliver on that promise.
Yeah. It's a very tightly constructed vision, you have to admit. So let's try and synthesize this for you listening. Tron presents itself as one of the world's largest blockchain operating systems. Its explicit purpose: to build a global, decentralized entertainment system. And the key way it empowers individuals, particularly creators, is by guaranteeing their right to freely publish, store, and, crucially, own their data. So there you have it. That's your shortcut to understanding the core ambition behind Tron TRX based on these foundational documents. It's about building a massive tech infrastructure aimed squarely at changing how we create, share, and consume digital entertainment.
And that leads us perfectly into our final thought for you to chew on, building on everything we've just unpacked. If a really big blockchain OS makes its #1 goal guaranteeing users absolute, unchangeable ownership over their digital content,
Yeah.
what old systems just disappear? Does that whole idea of platform lock-in, creators feeling stuck on YouTube or Twitch because that's where their audience data lives, does that just become obsolete? And if the identity of content truly belongs to the creator, managed on a blockchain, What new ways of funding things, what new economic models have to emerge to replace the giant centralized advertising networks that basically pay for the internet right now?
That is a lot to think about as we watch how all these digital platforms continue to evolve. We really hope this deep dive gave you a solid grasp of the Tron architecture and its pretty ambitious goals. Until next time, stay well informed.